Hello, welcome to WolfX. Today's video is titled, How I Took Down My Water-Stealing Neighbor Without Lifting a Finger, a Reddit story. I live in Asia and recently bought a house in the capital city. The previous owners were family friends who had moved abroad 3 years ago and needed cash urgently, so I got it for a great price. The sale was finalized at the start of the month and I moved in immediately. The house was a definite fixer-upper, mid-renovation when the previous owners left. The front door had been secured with just a padlock, and there wasn't even a gate, meaning anyone could just walk in. On my first day, I found a stranger's bike parked in my garage. I moved it to the road and had a gate installed that same day. Later, some angry guy was knocking at my gate, presumably looking for his bike. I didn't bother answering, and after 15 minutes, he gave up and took it. That incident set the tone for how I felt about the neighborhood. For a while, people still treated my property like it was abandoned, constantly blocking my gate. A no parking sign eventually fixed that problem. Then last week, I noticed my water pressure was unusually low while showering. At the same time, I heard my next-door neighbor's water pump running. This guy, a grumpy old man, lives on the ground floor of a 3-story house, renting out the upper floors to tenants. He wasn't happy about my house being sold and had complained to my friends, the previous owners. They warned me about him, but I'm a 6-foot guy with 3 dogs. He wasn't going to be a problem. In our area, water pumps are necessary to push water to rooftop tanks because the public supply pressure isn't strong enough. Hearing his pump running while my water pressure was low seemed too coincidental, so I tested my taps once his pump shut off. Sure enough, my pressure returned to normal. That's when it all clicked. Over the past 3 years, the water bills for my house have been oddly high, even though no one was living here. The previous owners assumed it was due to leaks, but now I realized what had been happening. This old miser had tapped into my supply to avoid paying for his water. I debated my next move. Water is incredibly cheap here. My total bill, even with 3 dogs, a weekly car wash, and a garden, is only about $5 a month. It wasn't about the money, it was about the principle. This guy felt entitled to steal my resources, and I wasn't going to let it slide. So I handled it in the simplest way possible. I turned off my water at the main supply. No trespassing, no illegal actions, just a flick of a valve. On Monday, I waited until I heard his pump switch on, then shut off my water. Here's the fun part. In our setup, a pump keeps running until the rooftop tank fills up and triggers the shut-off valve. But since I had cut off the water, the pump would keep running indefinitely, eventually burning out. What I didn't anticipate was how outdated his electrical system was. By constantly drawing power overnight, his pump ended up overloading the fuses and frying the house's wiring. At around 3 a.m., I woke up to the sounds of his tenants arguing with him. Their house was the only one in the neighborhood without water or electricity. In my country, landlords are legally required to provide power and water, and cutting those services is grounds for legal action unless it's due to natural causes. By morning, both tenants had lodged police complaints. The landlord was fined $500, an enormous sum here, and was forced to refund both tenants' security deposits. To make things worse for him, one tenant moved out immediately and the other left 2 days later. Without rental income, he couldn't afford repairs or even to live alone. Now, he's moving in with his daughter this Sunday. At some point, he figured out what had happened. He came to my gate and asked if I had turned off my water. I just smiled and said, "Oh yeah, my tank had a leak, so I shut it off until the plumber could come." His face was priceless. He kept it neutral, but I could tell he was fuming inside. He just said, "Oh, okay," and walked away. Now I'm getting a plumber to permanently remove any external pipes leading from my property. In the end, I solved my water theft problem and got rid of a troublesome neighbor, all by turning a valve. Bought an abandoned house. The neighbor was stealing water. Turned off my main supply while his pump was running, frying his wiring and cutting off his water and power. Tenants reported him. He got fined, lost his rental income, and now has to move in with his daughter. 2 birds, 1 stone. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment.